All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope you all having a wonderful day so far. I've got a two-parter here I wanted to react to. And not only I wanted to, but I actually had it suggested recently that I do so. This one is by Secret Base, and it's called Young Scottie Pippen's Beef with the Bulls Grew from a Fragile Ego. Oh my God. Fragile Ego and a Calculating GM. Why was that so hard for me to say? Anyways, this is part one of a two-parter. And I say if we enjoy this, then I should probably do the second part for the After Dark tonight. But we'll see how this goes. Anyways, as always, thanks for the suggestion. I'm going to leave the original Secret Base video down below in the description if you want to check it out without my commentary. Everybody else, please leave this video a like. And yeah, I'd really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's do this.
Look at Scottie Pippen. Doesn't he look happy? And why wouldn't he be? Here he just won his 6th title in 8 years with the Chicago Bulls. Well, there's pain behind those eyes, buried deep down. That pain was caused by this guy, and sometimes this guy. This guy didn't help, and even this guy caused some issues. Come with me. It's time for the beef history between Scottie Pippen and the Chicago Bulls.
Hey, what did Doug Collins do?
Scottie Maurice Pippen only became a Chicago Bull because GM Jerry Krause liked him so much.
Yep.
Krause started his career as a scout and was best known for discovering Earl Monroe back in the 60s. And in 1986, when the NBA director of scouting told everyone, hey, this kid Pippen from mid-size NAIA school Central Arkansas is worth checking out, Krause was the only one who listened. When Pippen eventually got a chance to impress other teams at pre-draft camps, Krause played his best defense to keep Pippen secret. At the Aloha Classic in Hawaii, a friend of Krause took young Pippen on a sightseeing tour, perhaps with the goal of making him unavailable to talk with other GMs. But Pippen made all-tournament teams and won camp dunk contests, thus he got noticed. The Bulls had the 8th pick in the draft, and Krause worried Pippen might get snatched up before that. So he made a deal with Seattle. They'd draft Scottie 5th and then trade him to Chicago. On draft night, Krause celebrated with champagne. His second order of business was signing a contract with the outstanding prospect he worked so hard to get. Shouldn't be too complicated. Except Krause said Pippen should be paid like an 8th pick, even though he was a 5th pick, because Chicago had the 8th pick. But
okay, that's already petty. Jesus.
Krause made a deal for him to be picked 5th because he thought Pippen was more valuable than an 8th pick.
Yeah.
It's hard to follow the logic, and I'm not so sure Krause was negotiating in good faith.
Fair
While
enough.
the contract was being hammered out, Pippen missed 9 practices. Kind of a big deal since he was competing with Brad Sellers for a starting spot. Krause's penny-pinching and logical leaps bothered Pippen, but he didn't make a big deal about it at the time.
Yeah, but that sticks with you. So from day one, your first impression is like, man, fuck this guy. This guy's an asshole.
He was new in the league. And he still ended up with more money than he'd ever seen before. Okay, so, contract out of the way, smooth sailing. Well, turns out Coach Doug Collins planted quite a few seeds of beef once the season got underway. It started with Pippen not winning that starting spot, which has never endeared a player to a coach. It continued with Collins' jealousy-inducing treatment of Michael Jordan. At age 23, Jordan led the league in scoring.
I'm sorry. Out of context, this looks so bad. That expression on his face. Okay, Doug.
Jealousy-inducing treatment of Michael Jordan. At age 23, Jordan led the league in scoring, was a perennial all-star, and was in commercials for shoes and food and cars and women's hair products. He was generally beloved.
I don't remember him advertising Chevy.
Jealousy was in the air, with or without Collins, but the coach didn't make it any better. He designed the Bulls' offense as everyone out of MJ's way.
Yeah.
And he let MJ skip practices, which Scottie took as an implication that Jordan worked harder than everyone else. Then there was Collins' less than nurturing style. Even when Collins did try to be nurturing, Pippen just felt belittled. During the playoffs, Collins decided to start Pippen. Good news. But he didn't tell Pippen until just before game time because he didn't want Pippen to get in his head about it. Scottie was happy to start, but he was also like, I'm not a child. So Collins and Pippen didn't see eye to eye, but the biggest beef tenderizer of Pippen's rookie year had to do with his back injury. From January on, Pippen complained about excruciating back pain. The Bulls trainers didn't see anything in his x-rays and told him he needed to stretch more. Collins expected him to play through it. Clearly, the team didn't think Pippen was very hurt. After his rookie season, Pippen got a second opinion. He had a herniated disc and needed surgery.
Damn.
To be clear, not something stretching could fix.
Fair.
The Bulls really pooched that one. But Scottie recovered and only had to miss a handful of games at the start of the 88-89 season. Despite the resentment building up inside him, Pippen played well. And in his third season, things started to look up. Collins was out, and Phil Jackson, the Bulls' assistant with a CBA title, was in.
Yeah, the Phil Jackson, Tex Winters triangle offense, much, much better suited for the rest of the teammates there.
The ISO Jordan offense was out,
Yep.
and the team-oriented triangle offense was in. The harsh critiques of every little mistake were out, and patience and guidance were in. Feeling respected, Pippen continued to improve and became an all-star. Sounds like a fun season with nothing to be upset about. Except the whole jealous of Michael Jordan thing. Pippen even thought the Bulls' scorekeepers favored Jordan over him. Luckily, there wasn't enough strife to mess up the Bulls, who lost just 2 playoff games on their way to the 1990 Eastern Conference Finals, where they went to 7 games with familiar playoff foe Detroit. Unfortunately, in Game 7, Scottie got a migraine so bad his vision blurred. He played terribly, and Chicago's season ended.
I know. I stand by it. I think the Bulls actually could have started their championship reign 1 year sooner if it wasn't for this.
Fans and the media blamed Pippen. Some even suggested he faked the migraine.
Nah, I'm not saying that. Just so you know, I'm not backing that stuff. I'm just saying if it didn't work out that he had, if he didn't get that migraine and it just worked out differently, I think the Bulls would have won.
And hey, if he was in so much pain, why didn't he sit out? In the wake of the loss, the Bulls believed and defended Pippen. How different from when they told him to stretch his herniated disc away. So quickly and randomly, those abilities, and even more basic ones like walking and talking, could be snatched away.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, the option on those last 2 years of his contract made Pippen uniquely uncomfortable.
I bet that's why he freaked out every time he had that kind of back pain, too. He's scared. Rightfully
Plus,
so.
there were non-family reasons Pippen wanted a new deal. He was clearly the Bulls' second best player, yet he was their 6th highest paid. And around the league, other guys from the 87 draft were restructuring their contracts to the tune of $3 million or more per year. As it stood, Scottie was set to make around $1 million each of the next 2 seasons. Let's get that new deal. Krause and owner Jerry Reinsdorf were like, sure, no problem. We'll get it done by Christmas. Scottie had a nice start to the 90-91 season. He led the team in blocks and assists and was second in scoring, rebounding, and steals. But Christmas came and went with no new contract under the tree for little Scottie. At the end of February, little Scottie lost his patience. He told the world the Bulls were stalling on his contract, jerking him around and lying to him. Why weren't Krause and Reinsdorf negotiating with Pippen? Because of this lanky fellow.
Oh boy, yeah.
The whole season, Krause had been heavily recruiting Toni Kukoc, a 6'10", 22-year-old Croatian star who Krause predicted would be the Bulls' second-best player when he eventually joined the team, even though that seat was already taken. With the hopes of enticing Kukoc away from European basketball, Krause was waving all the Bulls' available cash in front of him, so Krause couldn't go promising that money to Pippen in a new contract. At the end of March, Krause and Reinsdorf still weren't negotiating with Pippen, but they did fly to Europe to try to woo Kukoc. Pippen went back to the press and, at times, sounded a little less petulant. Kukoc ended up turning down the Bulls. Good news for Pippen. The big obstacle to his contract was out of the way. But talk was still slow. Krause offered Pippen a 6-year, $15 million deal, but Pippen rejected it. perhaps because the Bulls had reportedly offered Kukoc a slightly better deal.
Wait, what was that? What was that deal that was offered?
Krause offered Pippen a 6-year, $15 million deal.
6-year, 15? So just under 3 million a year. Probably like 2.7, something like that. I mean, yeah. He did deserve more than that. But I mean, it's something.
But Pippen rejected it. Perhaps because the Bulls had reportedly offered Kukoc a slightly better deal. Pippen continued his trade demands, and since he hadn't gotten management to budge the first time around, he upped the ante, threatening to let their conflict affect him on the court. This was a lofty threat because the Bulls were title contenders. Unless, of course, Scottie Pippen was too upset to play well. But Pippen didn't end up letting management take him out of his game. The Bulls lost just once in the playoffs as they marched to the finals. With a title so close, Pippen no longer wanted to talk about his contract troubles. And on June 12, 1991, the Chicago Bulls won their first NBA championship. Pippen was obviously a huge part of the title.
I used to have this shirt right here, by the way.
Won their first NBA championship. Pippen was obviously a huge part of the title. His final numbers were great, and he played stifling defense on the one and only Magic Johnson. Oh, in all the excitement, I nearly forgot to mention, Pippen had a new contract at this point. He signed it after Game 2 of the finals. It seems an odd time to sign a contract.
Yeah, it is a really weird time to even present a contract, let alone sign a contract. Wow.
Especially after Pippen said he didn't want to be distracted. So, what happened?
Yeah.
Well, according to NBA rules, teams that had money under the salary cap had to use that money before the last game of the finals. The Bulls had money under the salary cap. Remember, they put it in a gift basket for Tony to pick up in Chicago if he ever chose to come. But he didn't. So the Bulls still had that money available, and it wouldn't roll over to the next season. So they spent it on Pippen before the deadline passed. The new contract had the Bulls on the hook to pay Scottie a total of $18 million through the '98 season. The deal increased his salary and wasn't so bad in the short term, but it was a really long contract.
So is this the contract that the owners told him don't sign? Or I'm sorry, the two Jerrys told him not to sign? I think it is, huh?
Pippen's agents told him it was too long.
Yeah.
Krause later claimed he told Scottie not to sign because it was too long, and said he would not negotiate once it was signed. But as we've discussed, Pippen needed a contract with security, and he needed it before the option kicked in on his rookie deal.
I mean, a 4-year deal or something like that would have made a lot more sense. The one benefit out of this longer deal is he had guaranteed financial security for the rest of his life. So that's a hell of a positive. Like, no matter what, you're rich. Especially in the 90s. That was a lot of money in the 90s.
So he signed. With the contract out of the way and a ring, things were good for a while. In the '92 season, Krause was actually kind to Pippen. Scottie struggled in the Eastern Conference semis, to a point where fans were booing him and the press was wondering, is it headaches again? Krause shut down that speculation right away. He even tried to gently console Pippen in the locker room after a rough Game 5. That scene made it look like their beef was dead, buried, and forgotten. I guess that's what happens when you're trying to win repeat championships. Which, by the way, they did.
Until it came down to that final championship, yeah.
Feels weird not to live in this moment a bit. But this series is called Beef History, not we won another championship, we're too happy to be mad right now history. And besides, Pippen would soon show us on the world stage the beef was merely dormant. He had not forgiven Krause. In the summer of '92, Pippen was off to the Barcelona Olympics.
Poor Tony Kukoc.
Where, look at that, he'd get to play against Krause's projected second-best Bull.
Straight up, Tony is so innocent in all this. He did not deserve this whatsoever. Plus, Tony said he was making more money in Yugoslavia at this time than he was offered by the Bulls. So it wasn't about money for him. And he just got caught in the crossfire, literally, these two dogs right here. But especially Pippen, because this was personal for Pippen, but MJ had Pippen's back, so these two dogs just went at him. And he didn't know what the hell was going on. He didn't know about all this beef.
For Pippen, the game wasn't USA versus Croatia or even Pippen versus Kukoc. It was Pippen versus Krause. Pippen and Jordan swarmed Kukoc relentlessly, destroying him. Krause didn't respond directly to Scottie's demonstration, and he was definitely still interested in recruiting Kukoc. But the GM did tone down his enthusiasm when discussing the Croatian later in the summer. The following season, Chicago three-peated and crossed into dynasty territory. And once again, we're going to skip over the celebrations and happiness to October. Michael Jordan retired.
Yep.
Which some children at home took as a personal betrayal. No need to say who, because I'm over it. Anyway.
It's funny, I totally didn't. But I knew what led up to that, and I knew about his father. And, I wasn't mad. I was really sad, though, that my favorite athlete is now, gone. But then when he started playing baseball, I was happy again. I was following him as a Baron, because it was like, okay, hey, I get to see my dude play sports again.
Scottie Pippen suddenly found himself in a position to be the leader of a dynasty. Out of Jordan's shadow, he relished the opportunity to be the guy. Predictions had the Bulls dynasty falling, and Scottie had the opportunity to prove them wrong. The season started off great. In late December, Chicago went on a 10-game winning streak that made people think they actually could compete for a fourth title. Pippen led the team in all statistical categories and enjoyed a newfound appreciation. But that streak left the team exhausted. It was snapped by the Hornets in a 20-point blowout. Shortly after that, Chicago fell hard to the Magic. These were big losses to potential playoff teams, so maybe there wouldn't be a fourth championship after all. A few days later, the Knicks, who were considered the Bulls' biggest obstacle in returning to the finals, acquired Derek Harper to replace the injured Doc Rivers. The losses, coupled with New York instantly filling a hole in their backcourt, left Pippen frustrated. Why hadn't Krause filled the MJ-sized hole in the Bulls? Pippen was playing 40-plus minutes a game and maybe, just maybe, realizing being the guy was more responsibility than he wanted. He carped that it was Krause, not him, who held the Bulls' potential in his hands. While Pip was the most outspoken, Phil Jackson also wanted Krause to pick up a strong shooting guard.
There's an ingredient missing. We still need a spot filled.
But Krause didn't think he needed to. And it's not like he'd done nothing this season. He had finally signed Tony Kukoc back in the fall. Doesn't that make you feel better, Scottie? Sorry, that was mean.
Problem is they're both small, Their true positions should be small forward, both of them, Scottie Pippen and Tony Kukoc. Tony was versatile enough to play the power forward, but he didn't excel at power forward because he lacked a lot of that defensive structure and physical strength. So this was kind of a conflict because you got their two best offensive players technically playing the same position, and you still need a shooting guard. I guess Steve Kerr's the closest thing you got at that point to a shooting guard, But once again, you put him in and Tony at the same time, and you're seriously lacking in defense. And what are you going to do about Horace Grant? He can't bump up the center. He's power forward. So there's a big conflict here with forwards, for sure.
As the 94 trade deadline approached, some talented players were available, but Krause made 0 moves. So Jackson moved Pippen to shooting guard.
Yep, I was going to say this is the only way around this is Scottie literally has to take Jordan's position. Someone's got to be the shooting guard, and that's got to be him.
And he moved Tony Kukoc into the starting lineup at the 3.
Yeah.
This did not improve Pippen's mood. Before a home game...
What did he say? Hold on.
This did not...
Playing 2-guard takes me away from rebounding. It takes me away from the team defense we need and has me chasing all these little guys around the perimeter. I don't like it. Well, welcome to Michael Jordan's life.
Improve Pippen's mood. Before a home game against the Cavs at the end of February, Pippen lashed out at Krause again. And the Bulls went on to play poorly. In the third quarter, the Cavs were up by 18, and the Chicago fans booed. Though the boos were directed at the whole team, Pippen, the leader, felt the boos were intended for him, and he felt that wasn't fair. After the game, Pippen said, "I've never seen a white guy get booed in the stadium."
What?
Bulls management was less than happy with their star implying their fans were racist.
What? He started this stuff back then, huh?
Krause wrote an apology for Pippen to sign, and it was in papers the next day. It basically said Pippen didn't really think fans were racist, he was just upset from the loss. But here's something interesting. The Krause-authored statement covered another topic, too. It said, "I also made some statements about Jerry Krause and my teammates, which I now realize I said in the frustration of a losing game, and I realize that the statements were not true." Looks like Krause took advantage of the situation to force Scottie to take back his criticism. There were some clues that this statement wasn't a true reflection of Scottie's feelings. Mainly, his most recent anti-Krause comments came before the Cleveland loss. Despite the drama, Pippen and the Bulls had a pretty solid season. They defied expectations with 55 wins. In the opening round of the playoffs, they got revenge on Cleveland. Against the Knicks in the Eastern Conference semis, they fell behind 2-0. Game 3 was not Pippen's finest hour. With 1.8 seconds left and the game tied, Chicago called timeout. Jackson drew up a play for Kukoc, not Pippen. But it was Scottie's turn to be the guy, remember? Pippen took the play call as a personal insult. Cursing Jackson, he sat down and refused to enter the game.
I know, and this is when it all fell apart for my man Pippen, right here.
Chicago had to call a second timeout to sub someone in for him. Kukoc hit the shot, so at least there's that. But the game winner didn't lead headlines in the days that followed. The press maligned Pippen for self-benching. The guy quit on his team. From Pippen's point of view, it wasn't that simple. His team had been shoving him down ever since he was a rookie. Some of that was kind of minor, a sensitive player getting his feelings hurt. Some of it was straight up a team treating him with little to no respect. It was bound to culminate in something ugly. Pippen wasn't innocent. He was jealous, dramatic, and immature. Both sides have fault in this beef.
Yeah.
Now, we know Scottie Pippen did eventually win 3 more titles with the Bulls. So, how'd they get past this dark moment? Did they find some peace, learn to respect and understand each other? Nope. There's still years and years of beef on the bone.
Oh, it gets worse. It gets so much worse.
With more lies, slights, trade demands, and even a bus fight. There's another serving of beef on the way.
Great first video. I can't wait for the second one. Let's do this tonight, huh? We'll do it for the After Dark episode tonight, because this gets so much worse. So it's not proper making you guys wait for tomorrow for the next one. We'll do this tonight. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave this video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to watch that one tonight with me. And yeah, I'll save the long outro for tonight's video once we get the second half of the story. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you all. I'll see you tonight, okay? Peace out.